If your relationship with money feels less like a smooth waltz and maybe more like a never-ending wrestling match,
Hmm.
full of stress, chasing, and that nagging feeling of never enough, then you are definitely not alone.
Mm, that's such a common feeling.
It really is.
Yeah.
We often treat money as this like external force that controls us.
Yeah,
But what if it wasn't? What if we could actually change that dynamic?
that's a big question.
Yeah. So today we're taking a deep dive into the truly refreshing philosophy of Ken Honda, Japan's renowned Zen millionaire,
Yeah.
and his transformative concept, happy money.
Happy money. I like the sound of that already.
Me too. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore a surprisingly simple yet incredibly powerful question. What energy are you giving to your money, and what energy is your money giving back to you?
That's such a vital question because for Honda, money is anything but neutral. It's deeply emotional.
Emotional, how so?
It carries the charge of how it's earned, how it's received, how it's spent, or even, how it's withheld. He suggests that happy money flows with gratitude and joy, while unhappy money is tied to guilt, fear, or stress. So, our exploration today, drawing from excerpts of Ken Honda's Happy Money philosophy, really aims to guide you toward creating a life of wealth that actually feels like peace.
A life of wealth that feels like peace. That sounds pretty good. Let's start by understanding Ken Honda's origins, because his journey isn't one of scarcity, which is quite interesting.
Right, he grew up in Tokyo, and his father was actually a very successful tax accountant.
So Ken was surrounded by numbers from a young age. But what really stands out is that even at 8 years old, he wasn't just looking at ledgers. He was observing the emotional energy around money.
Yeah, at 8, that's pretty observant.
It is. He noticed something profound. The numbers weren't what stressed people. It was what the numbers meant. He saw incredibly wealthy clients who were just, well, emotionally broken, consumed by anxiety,
Hmm.
while others with very little were surprisingly generous and lighthearted. What do you think that early observation did for him? How did it shape his whole worldview?
Oh, it was absolutely foundational. I mean, that keen observation at such a young age was then tragically cemented by a profound personal experience. A close family friend actually died by suicide, hounded by loan sharks.
Oh, wow. That's heavy.
It really is. And this event branded a truth into Ken's heart. Money itself isn't the enemy. It's the fear, the shame, and the silence around money that are truly destructive. This personal tragedy, in many ways became the driving force behind his later mission.
That makes sense. Helping people heal their relationship with money. So after this formative childhood, Ken pursued a fairly traditional path initially.
He did, yeah. Studied law, then quickly built a very successful career in consulting and investment, made good money quite quickly, actually.
Achieved what many would consider the dream, right?
Exactly. But then a pivotal shift happened when his daughter was born. He had this powerful realization, he said. I had everything I thought I needed, but I didn't feel free.
Didn't feel free, even with all that success.
Right. And that feeling led him to do something quite radical, especially for someone so young and successful. He retired at 29.
29, wow. Not burnout, you said.
No, surprisingly not burnout. He described it more as a waking up.
Waking up. Okay,
Yeah.
so what did you do then?
Well, for the next decade, he didn't chase another business venture. Instead, he dedicated himself to studying emotional intelligence, various spiritual traditions, psychology, and he spent that time interviewing over 12,000 people, just asking them about their relationship with money and happiness. All walks of life, billionaires, bartenders, everyone.
12,000 people, that's incredible research.
It really is. And through this, he came to understand that happiness wasn't determined by how much money people had, but consistently by what he calls the energy behind the exchange. That's what he now terms money EQ.
Money EQ. Okay, so let's talk about the heart of Ken Honda's philosophy then.
Yeah.
This fascinating idea of happy money versus unhappy money. What exactly does he mean by that? Why is this distinction so vital?
Well, he means that money is far more than just a neutral tool. It literally carries an emotional charge, an energy.
Right, we touched on that.
Exactly. So happy money is money that's earned with joy, spent with love, and received with deep gratitude. Contrast that with unhappy money, which might be earned with resentment, spent in guilt, or hoarded out of fear.
Okay, so the feeling attached is key.
Precisely. The key distinction isn't the amount on your bank statement, it's the energy attached to it. You could have two people with the exact same paycheck, but one feels, a profound sense of gratitude, while the other clutches it with anxiety.
That makes sense.
And Ken Honda puts it beautifully. When money is given and received with gratitude, it becomes a blessing. When it is exchanged in fear, it becomes a burden. It's truly a paradigm shift, really, moving from seeing money as just a fixed number to understanding it as a mirror of your own consciousness.
A mirror of your consciousness. That's a powerful way to frame it. So if we embrace this idea of happy money, what does it actually look like in practice? How does Ken Honda describe its movement, its energy?
He describes happy money as something that comes in with appreciation, like really recognizing the value of the exchange.
Okay.
It leaves with trust. You spend it without panic, confident that more will flow back to you. There's no resistance in its movement. It's given freely rather than clutched tightly.
Right, not held onto for dear life.
Exactly. And most importantly, it circulates freely, continuing to move, grow, and flow through lives. Unhappy money, on the other hand, is often tied to resentment, maybe earned through a job you dread or spent with regret.
Hmm.
It often becomes stagnant, hoarded out of fear, which creates these energetic blocks. And inevitably, unhappy money creates this pervasive story of lack where no matter how much you have, it simply never feels like enough.
That feeling of never enough again. What's truly powerful here, it seems, is that this reframing doesn't actually require you to magically acquire more money. Not at all. It requires more mindfulness from you, a shift in your internal relationship with the money you already possess. So if we're aiming for that mindfulness, what's the practical, everyday way Ken Honda suggests we actually do this? Is there a ritual or a step we can take?
Absolutely. And this leads us to his defining practice, the Arigato Ritual.
Arigato, like thank you in Japanese.
Exactly. It's incredibly simple yet profoundly impactful. It's the act of simply saying, arigato, thank you to your money, both when it enters your life and when it leaves.
Both ways,
Oh.
okay. And he gives concrete examples, right?
Yeah.
Like saying arigato in, when you get a paycheck or a tip or a gift, even a refund.
Uh-huh.
And then arigato out,
Hmm.
when you spend on things like bills, make a donation, or even pay your taxes. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. But it's actually deeply grounded in both neuroscience and Japanese tradition.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, studies have shown that practicing gratitude actively activates the prefrontal cortex in the brain, helping to reduce stress hormones like cortisol.
Okay, so there's a physical effect.
Yes. And in Japanese tradition, arigato is far more than just, a polite habit. It reflects humility, presence, and a deep appreciation for all that life brings. Applied to money, it literally transforms every transaction into what Ken describes as a prayer.
A prayer. Wow.
Yeah. It's acknowledging the flow rather than resisting it.
Acknowledging the flow. Okay, that idea of a money wound really hits home for so many people. I know I can think of times growing up when money conversations felt, well, charged.
Oh, definitely.
Ken Honda introduces this as subconscious imprints, often from childhood maybe. Parents fighting over money, or being told not to ask for too much, or witnessing financial suffering. How crucial is it for us to identify and address these subconscious imprints? And what does Ken suggest for healing them?
It's absolutely crucial because these imprints live in your subconscious, and honestly, they often drive your financial behavior far more than logic ever could.
Right, you react before you even think.
Exactly. Ken's approach to healing these wounds is remarkably compassionate. He suggests practices like writing a letter to money as if it were a person.
A letter to money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really exploring what you'd say, acknowledging past hurts, maybe even forgiving yourself and others for past financial mistakes. He encourages examining your family's money patterns to see how they still show up in your life today. And practicing daily gratitude, even for the smallest amounts. As he beautifully puts it, money is like a mirror. It shows you what you believe you're worth.
Money is like a mirror. It shows you what you believe you're worth. That's a powerful reflection. Now, for a lot of us, our brain immediately goes to spreadsheets and investments when we think about financial intelligence.
That's practical stuff, yeah.
Exactly. Ken makes a crucial distinction between money IQ, the logical intelligence around money like budgeting, investing, crunching numbers, and money EQ. It's almost counterintuitive to say emotional intelligence matters more. How does Ken Honda explain that to someone who might feel skeptical?
Yeah, it can seem counterintuitive. He argues that while money IQ is certainly useful, your money EQ, your emotional intelligence around money, encompassing your feelings, beliefs, subconscious habits, is far more impactful on your actual experience of wealth.
You experience, okay.
You can be a financial genius on paper, incredibly skilled with numbers and strategies, yet still feel anxious, constantly worried about cash flow, or secretly fear losing all your wealth.
Right. The internal feeling doesn't match the external reality.
Precisely. He often says two people with the same income will live completely different emotional lives. One sleeps peacefully, the other checks their bank app 10 times a day.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
Ha! We've all been there. Raising your money EQ is really about unlearning that fear-based programming you picked up maybe from childhood, maybe later,
Mhm.
and instead installing gratitude, peace, and trust into your financial energy. It's about changing the quality of your relationship with money, not just the quantity.
Changing the quality of the relationship. That makes perfect sense because your emotional state dictates so much of your experience. Now, Ken Honda, through his, decades of interviews,
Yeah, all those thousands of people.
he identified 5 core money personality archetypes. He says understanding your type can be a huge step toward transforming your relationship with wealth.
Mm.
Can you walk us through those archetypes?
Yes, definitely. Recognizing your primary type is a great starting point for self-compassion and growth. So first, there's the spender.
Okay, the spender.
They love pleasure, they're generous, but can be impulsive, often followed by regret.
Uh-huh.
Then, the saver. They find deep security in saving, but sometimes this leads to being overly cautious or resistant to investing, even for growth. Holding on too tight, maybe.
Right, fear of losing it.
Exactly. Next, the moneymaker. They are intensely driven to earn, often linking their self-worth directly to the income, which, risks burnout.
Yeah, always chasing the next goal.
Yeah. Then number 4 is the indifferent. These individuals often detach from money, perhaps being very spiritual or artistic, and may avoid financial responsibility altogether, sort of above it all.
Okay, like it's not important.
Yeah. And finally, the gambler. They love risk, are excited by wins, devastated by losses, and often seek drama over stability in their financial lives. The thrill seeker.
Okay, spender, saver, moneymaker, indifferent, gambler. And his advice isn't to judge yourself for which one you are.
Not at all. It's to embrace your type with compassion and then learn from the wisdom that exists in the other types. Each has strengths and weaknesses.
That's a much healthier approach.
Right.
Now, these aren't just abstract ideas, are they? Ken Honda's teachings have genuinely transformed lives. Can you share a couple of those real-life stories that really bring this philosophy to life?
Absolutely. These really show the impact. Take Anna from Brazil. She was consumed by financial anxiety. Experiencing constant panic attacks over debt.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It was really debilitating. She started the Arigato practice, whispering thank you to her wallet and bills, even as she paid them. Initially, she said it felt forced, like she was faking it.
I can imagine.
But she persisted. Within weeks, she described an immediate, almost physical lightening of her anxiety, and by month 2, not only had her stress drastically reduced, but she unexpectedly attracted a remote side gig that perfectly aligned with her creative passion.
Wow, just from the gratitude practice.
Well, it shifted her energy, her focus, and this wasn't just income, it was work that flowed joyfully, and it cleared her debt completely.
Incredible. What about another one?
Okay, or consider Lars from Germany, a successful 6-figure software engineer. He saved rigorously, but it came from a deep place of fear of abandonment, fear of losing everything.
So he was maybe a saver, but driven by fear.
Exactly. After doing some of the exercises, like journaling letters to money as Ken instructed, he realized his saving was for this future self he didn't even truly believe in or trust. So he consciously shifted. When he started giving, joyfully donating more, tipping generously, investing in experiences that brought him true delight, his income unexpectedly jumped 40% in just 1 quarter.
40%? How does that even happen?
It sounds crazy, right? But it was as if, by releasing the fear, that tight grip, and allowing money to flow out with joy, he opened himself up to receive more. He changed the energy.
Those are powerful transformations.
Yeah.
It really sounds like there's a deeper, almost spiritual dimension to this work. How does Ken Honda connect his philosophy to broader spiritual traditions?
There's a profound connection, actually, across various traditions. You can see echoes everywhere.
Like where?
Well, from Zen, for instance, we learn that money, much like breath, is meant to flow. If you
Right.
hoard it, it stagnates. If you fear it, it shrinks energetically. But if you thank it and allow it to circulate, it expands.
Like breathing, yeah. In and out.
Exactly. From Taoism, the principle is all about allowing money rather than forcing it or grasping for it. It's not about pushing harder, but about permitting flow. And in Shinto tradition, there's this beautiful idea that even inanimate objects are considered sacred, possessing a spirit. So your wallet has a soul, your money has a spirit. When you treat them with reverence and gratitude, they respond like trusted friends, flowing more readily to you.
Treating your wallet like a friend. I like that. He calls this frequency stewardship, right?
Yes, that's his term. It's about recognizing that you're not just managing dollars or yen, you're managing the very energy of circulation itself. And when you honor that energy, it truly honors you back.
It feels less like accounting and more like energy work.
In a way, yes. It's about your relationship with that energy.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, who's been taking this all in?
Well, I think the core message is really clear.
Yeah, it feels like it's saying you are no longer a victim of money. Instead, you are its keeper, its healer, and its guide. This philosophy calls for you to become a wealth steward.
A steward, yeah, not a hoarder.
Right. Someone who actively manages the energy of abundance, rather than merely hoarding out of fear. It's really an invitation, isn't it? To bless the money you hold, to circulate it with joy, receive it with grace, and maybe even teach it to children as something sacred, not something scary or taboo.
Absolutely. Every single financial interaction you have becomes an opportunity to imprint love and gratitude into the world.
Every interaction, wow.
And to leave you with a final provocative thought from the source material to ponder. Imagine money itself whispering to you.
Okay.
Whispering, I was never your enemy. I came to bless, to flow, to move like breath. But you feared me, you chased me, you shamed me, you judged me, you forgot. I am you, I am your trust, your safety, your joy and motion.
Wow.
And then this powerful concluding thought from Ken Honda, you were never broke. You were simply remembering.
You were never broke. You were simply remembering.
Hmm.
That's a profound thought to sit with, isn't it?
Yeah.
The idea that our perceived lack might just be a forgotten connection.
It really reframes everything.
It does. So to go deeper into Ken Honda's teachings and truly become a steward of abundance with soul, you can explore his book, Happy Money, which is available in, I think, over 15 languages now.
Yeah, it's reached a lot of people.
You can also find him on various podcasts, shows like Mind Valley, Lewis Howes, Marie TV. He's been on quite a few.
He shares his message widely. There are also video courses on platforms like Gaia and Mind Valley.
Right. And of course, you can visit his website, which is kenhonda.com, or follow him on Instagram at HappyKenHonda.
Lots of ways to connect.
Definitely. Take this deep dive. Maybe try that Arigato Ritual and begin your journey to happy money.